on the end.
So that's being investigated. Meanwhile, let's go to a man who does donuts every time he does a segment on the show. He gets into his car, and then he starts doing those spinning, or the donuts, Harry,
Sure.
when you cross the finish line. When John McMullen...
In the infield. When you go down the infield.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He does that when he crosses the Walt Whitman Bridge, and he gets over after leaving the Eagles complex. And he does a donut right in front of the toll booths just to tell everybody that he's here to remind them of who he is. He is our NFL insider, John McMullen. John, how are you, pal?
That's true, Tony. Coming back over the bridge, back to South Jersey, because I'm excited I don't have to pay the toll that way. So
Exactly right. New Jersey, the only state we have to pay to leave. That's the sad reality.
Yeah. A lot of people are paying to leave.
Well,
Yeah.
Wait a minute, John. You can get a haircut now. Everything's opening up. The amusement parks. New Jersey is
true.
finally opening
Got a
up.
haircut today. I got a tattoo.
Beautiful.
Did it all.
How about a
First time in
massage?
months.
Massage parlors are open.
I like. Did you see a couple weeks ago, New York put out the city put out a press release about sexual relations and about how you should go about it in the world of COVID.
Yes, Robin and I, we did a whole breakdown
was an
segment on the
update.
show.
Yes.
Robin broke it all down.
I did. We had diagrams and everything.
We got explicit because it's about sex and safe sex on the show, and so we explained what was good and what wasn't legal as if you're having sex in public in New York City.
That's right. I think it's good to get Bill de Blasio in on the conversation.
Exactly. Now, did you get the barbed wire? I think that's coming back. Remember back in the day,
the tattoos?
The NBA.
Yeah.
Who was the one NBA guy who had the barbed wire one? The white dude who could shoot. He played for a bunch of teams, including the Sixers.
I think everybody had the barbed
No,
wire.
it was a guy from Maryland. I can't remember his
About
name.
a 5-10 year period. Keith Van Horn, you talking about? No,
I don't think he has tattoos.
I don't think he had the
does
barbed wire. He's now an NBA analyst.
Guy from Maryland?
I think he went
Not
to
ringing a
Maryland.
bell.
But I don't remember. I'll figure it out. I'm going with a neck tattoo next. If I'm going to get inked up, I'm going to do the neck. All the way
Or the
up.
face.
Or the face, yeah. I got to get the eye drop.
Like Post
Yeah,
Malone.
remember Mike Tyson got the face tattoo and
Yeah.
everyone thought he was insane? He was just a trendsetter.
He was.
ahead
Exactly.
of the time.
And when you're Mike Tyson, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
What's he going to get?
That's
Not get a
true.
job? Not get a job on Wall Street? By the way, Brian Urlacher has retired his barbed wire tattoo. There it is. Brian Urlacher had one.
Yeah.
So he's
Tracy
now.
McGrady used to have a barbed wire tattoo.
Yeah, it was a big deal
Or
back
has
in
a
the
barbed
wire
back in the early
Yeah,
90s. I think it was early 90s, right?
Yeah, I
back
think
when
that was
big.
definitely 90s.
And it was inspired by, who was inspired by it, right? Barbarella herself.
Jane Fonda.
No, she was Jane. That was Barbarella. Who
No,
was the
Pam-
chick?
Pamela
Pamela
Anderson.
Anderson was barbed wire. Remember, she did the
Barbed
movie.
The movie
Yeah, the
barbed
movie.
wire. Okay.
Yeah, she did the movie Barbed Wire. So we got good knowledge on this show. Now let's get to football.
All right.
Because the big story is John Harbaugh joins the chorus of many people who's not a Dr. Fauci fan. What's up with that?
Well, I said today, Dr. Fauci's like a human Rorschach test. He says something, and then you ask everybody else, and you go from media industry to media person, what have you. They all look at it differently. Today he was out there, he's talking about how there's definitely going to be a vaccine. You had some people running with that. You had some people running with the doom and gloom aspect of it. So he's, it is what it is at this point. I think if you go back in the history, and that's the problem. I mean, the short attention spans in today's world, most doctors, most scientists, they admit, hey, this is a work in progress. We learn new things every day. And, Dr. Fauci's a perfect example because he's got to go out and talk about it so much. So many things have changed. You go to the CDC, for instance, and their information, sometimes what they tell you to do, it changes from day to day, never mind week to week. So, I don't know. Everybody takes one day and says, this is it, and puts a sentence and puts a period on the sentence, and it's evolving at all times. And nobody can seem to accept that.
Right. Nobody really knows what's going to happen, much less in the next week, to say the next 3 or 4 months. And I think that he knows that unless he has absolute facts, he doesn't want to be the bad guy telling everybody, even though we don't know, that in 3 or 4 months we're going to have to shut everything down again and all the sports that start are going to have to end. He doesn't want to be that guy right now.
No, nobody wants to be that guy,
Right.
and that's the problem. And it's, you know, you can go from state to state and really county to county, and if you go to big cities, mayor to mayor, what have you, different political ideologies all the way up to the federal government. Everybody's pulling in different directions. And let's be honest, it all has, the president's a lightning rod, and you have this weird dichotomy of people who, you know, want to go down one route and the whole group wants to go down another route. I do find it weird. I will say this. I find it very strange that people are rooting for bad things to happen.
I know.
Because they hate a reality television star turned politician. Forget about him. Turn off social media.
Yeah,
But
I just
you
keep
gotta
it
root
local.
for society as a whole.
You got to keep it local, John. That's why I focus on the local people who are messing up our cities. I can't worry about Washington, what they're doing. We have an election in November. But we have Mike Tomlin.
My only point being, Tony, is if you dislike the guy that much, turn off social media and go do something else. Go affect change on the local level. Go work with the politicians you like. But don't root for society to go backward.
Yeah, I agree with that. That bothers me every single day, man.
Well, it's like the people that just say, you know, they want to be saying, I told you so. Yeah. I was the one that told you that this was all going to get screwed up. Instead of, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm, you know what I mean? Like they'd rather be right and have it be the bad outcome. That's what I don't understand.
I was right about the mayor going to run for governor.
Yeah.
Became official today. I nailed that one 2 years ago. You know, and I'm not bragging about it, except only the second time in the last hour, but it's breaking news, so you have to make sure people remember that. But, John, back to John Harbaugh. Harbaugh said in an interview, it's documented, that he trusts the NFL doctors more than he trusts Dr. Fauci. And it's interesting because a lot of these coaches don't trust the NFL doctors whenever something goes wrong with concussions and injury reports and things of that nature. Does that surprise you at all?
No, it doesn't surprise me because those guys want to play, and they all know. And I think it was Andrew Brandt. I wrote about this in Philly Voice earlier this week, but I'll give Andrew the credit because he wrote about it. Sports Illustrated, I think, today. You know, if this was just about health, we wouldn't be playing sports. I mean, you got to be honest about that. But when you look at, and not just the NFL, but also the NBA, Major League Baseball is going to ramp up soon. They're not giving up this TV money. And by they, I mean not only owners, also the players. They're not giving it up. So when you know the end game and the NFL and everybody else is going to play, it should make it easier to get there. The only thing you're trying to do to get to the point where you can start these games is to make everybody as safe as possible. That's it. And once you have the GPS set to that, you should be able to get there. But too many people, like Harry mentioned, they want to be right, and they want doom and gloom for whatever reason. I can't figure it out.
Now, Mike Tomlin had a Zoom session with reporters this morning in Pittsburgh, and he said that he's had several Pittsburgh Steeler players, 2 of them tested positive for COVID, but that they're over it now because they tested and then...
It was back in the springtime.
Because they're young and they're healthy.
Yeah, imagine that, John.
That's breaking news.
It's unbelievable.
Who knew? I thought everybody died.
And our old friend Joe Banner, he got in trouble because he said, you know, it's June. It's a competitive advantage, actually, if people test positive now for NFL teams, or it would be for other sports as well, because that means most likely they're not going to get it in the future. And they are healthy, and most of them are asymptomatic completely, and they're just going to move on. And you can look at it from a sports standpoint. Everybody jumped all over Joe. But you can't jump on people for telling the truth.
Right.
I just don't understand it.
Well, you know, and then there are other people. Bill Simmons, you know, who employs our good friend John Gonzalez, under fire now for not having people of color or particularly African-American people working at the Ringer. And so that's what we're living in now. Everybody's under a microscope. And if somebody gets you, you got to go out and get somebody else.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel as well. Yeah. I mean, why don't we just cancel everybody, and then we can start from scratch? If
I think that's what they want to
canceled, then
do.
nobody's canceled.
That's what they want to do.
Yeah. So in theory, everything would be, it's like rebooting your computer. You cancel everybody, we just all start from scratch.
I like that. Let's hit the
And then we
reset.
can move forward.
Let's hit
Reboot.
Control Alt Delete.
Right.
And everybody starts over tomorrow like nothing happened.
Defrag your hard drive.
Exactly right.
And start over.
Do I have to go to the Geek Squad, or can I
think
do
you
that
do.
myself?
I think they can come here.
No, I don't think they're allowed
No?
to do house calls, Harry.
Okay.
You got to bring it in, and you got to get it. Talking about appointments to go to the bank, as Harry was mentioning earlier, to go to his bank at Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
In the suburbs. You know, I can walk into my bank, but you got to have an appointment, to go to the Geek Squad. You walk in there, and they put your name up there, and you got to wait. They're not just giving you stuff right away. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, I still can't get in my bank. You got to go through the drive-through
Exactly.
and wait for a half hour.
Not me. I walked right into Citizens Bank because I'm a good citizen, and they let me in.
Follow
Yeah,
John.
I'm waiting. That'll be. Forget about tattoos. Forget about haircuts. I'm waiting for that bank to open.
Follow John
Well,
on
I have to
Twitter
send that line.
at JF McMullen, and of course he's got the Extending the Play podcast he does here with Ryan Rothstein.
Who?
Now, yeah, with Rothstein, Extending
When
the
do
Play.
you guys record that extravaganza? Once a week?
No, we do it multiple times a week.
Multiple
I'm a hard
times a
worker,
week.
And then,
I
of
know
course-
you. I didn't realize Ryan was doing 2 shows a week. He doesn't have a car. He's driving
Yeah.
his sister's car. He drives all the way from the Jersey Shore every day.
And then, of course, the
Yeah,
Philly
that's some
Voice
kind of
column.
Jeep problem. Some kind of. He was trying to sell his Jeep. I know the Eagles were interested about 6 or 7 teams, but and then he had some other issues on top of it.
Well, speaking of the Eagles, we got to get to this Dallas Goedert thing. And the Eagles put out some sort of release, a sanitized release, making it seem like he was with his family at a nice, friendly
Yeah.
Applebee's and having dinner and got sucker punched. And then you see the video and you realize he's in some strapper bar.
Yeah,
like
real strappers.
real strapper
a dive bar.
at like 1 in the morning or
Yeah,
something.
you know the bar named the Zoo.
The
is
Zoo.
probably
The
full of
Zoo.
Yeah,
animals.
that's a
What do
place
you-
where families go to dinner. The
Was
Zoo.
John DeBella there or running it that night?
Now it's interesting because Ryan and I did a podcast on that, Extending the Play, as you just mentioned.
Uh-huh.
But now, as far as Dallas, what happened was Dallas was out with his sisters and their husband, and they were out to dinner, and then they went to the Zoo bar afterwards.
Okay.
Okay.
But nonetheless, he's a 25-year-old guy. He's allowed to go out and have a drink.
Sure.
That doesn't mean you should be sucker punched in the face. So I do think, there's this weird sort of, he's looking for trouble because he's out at a bar at 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I was 25, I was out at a lot of bars at 1 o'clock in the morning.
When
I was looking for
was
trouble.
Young people do.
25.
I was looking for trouble, but not with dudes and bros.
It was a very good year.
Especially some strapper who's from Florida who sells Lexuses down in Sarasota. In the middle of South Dakota.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out what he's doing in South Dakota.
I'm sure that Lexus dealer is really happy. He's going to be salesman of the year.
Yeah.
Hey, I took out an NFL tight end with 1 punch in a bar in South Dakota.
And then you have that group of strappers. Forget about that. You have they're saying, "Oh, he stalled because he got." I mean, if Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali in their prime, if they're not ready, and they get hit on the button,
Right.
anybody can get knocked out. That's nonsense as well.
Exactly. And just because a guy's big and tall, and you're right, you saw the picture, you saw the video.
Yeah.
Guy came out of nowhere.
But I want to know what he's doing up there.
Oh, that's where he lives.
Yeah,
No, the guy from
Oh,
Florida.
I don't
the
know
guy
what the
from
guy's
Florida.
doing. How do you
Yeah.
wind up from Sarasota in Aberdeen, South Dakota?
Right.
For God's
Yeah,
sake.
I was talking to I think it's Brown County. I'm not, but the attorney out there is in charge of the case. I asked him what the heck he was doing out there. And they still haven't locked down all that information. But he's, it's a simple assault charge. It's a misdemeanor, and that's South Dakota law because he wasn't seriously injured.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only way the prosecution could go. But he is facing a year in jail and I think a $2,000 fine, which is probably underselling things considering what he did, to be honest.
Will that keep him from selling previously owned Lexuses? Are
Hey, I
Lex-
have one of those.
Previously owned
Yes.
Lexus is
Hey,
just
it's
certified,
Florida.
certified pre-owned, Tony.
certified.
Okay.
Wait, here. This is a comment from the Zoo Bar review site. You know how you can like it's sort of like a Yelp. Oh, it is Yelp. Sorry. So this is one of the reviews. I went here last Saturday night at 11 p.m. I made the mistake of not drinking before going there. I just had a baby, so it's about a year since I've gone out, much less drank any alcohol at all. I ordered 3 Chuck Norris drinks, 2 Purple Rains, and had a shot at the shot bar. Left still completely sober.
Damn.
I was pretty disappointed.
And this is a chick.
Hey, good for her.
I lived in Minnesota for about 10 years. So anywhere in the Midwest, if you go to any of the, especially the smaller towns, you have a bar, you have a dive bar on every corner.
Yeah.
And you don't expect them to go light on the alcohol. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I was up in the middle of the night that night. I got up at like 2:15 and couldn't go back to sleep the night that happened. And I'm on Twitter, and there's all these people in South Dakota going back and forth and telling me exactly where the bar was. So they weren't making it up. They didn't have all the details, but they were telling me that it's not a place you go out to dinner, that it's a dive bar, and there's a lot of bros in there. And so obviously this chick went in there to get a couple drinks, and she left before all hell broke loose.
Well, this was a couple years ago. This
wasn't Saturday night? Oh, I thought she was there this past
No,
weekend.
this was just a comment.
So it's gotten actually worse since she was there.
Now, since that, and these are the most recent reviews, specifically after the Goddard.
So we have there's a guy with a cowboy tattoo.
Yes.
So I'm sure it's going to be a really impartial review.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
This is one review by Mike B. that he just put this on the 21st, so a couple days ago. The zoo is a great place to punch Eagle players, and never forget this about the zoo. It is in South Dakota, and we have meth. We're on it.
Damn right.
How about you go?
Now this
You go out to the Badlands, you find yourself a motorhome, and you get some of that blue ice, Tone.
Did they go to Mount Rushmore before they take
Before
Teddy
they
Roosevelt?
deface it?
Yeah, they take Teddy Roosevelt down.
Now here's a review that was posted today by Joe R. from Hamden, Connecticut.
This is a reading from the Yelp page of the great bar known as the Zoo Bar. Whenever I'm in Aberdeen, South Dakota, I always got shots late at night.
Now I
at
don't
the Zoo
understand.
Bar.
This might be like some Urban Dictionary thing that I don't understand, but I'll read the entire thing for you. As a retired CI double agent, I'm rather particular about the bars that I frequent. This zoo is place for me. Not only do they have a great parking lot for haircuts and dental work, but the other night they had more white chariots I've seen in any place this side of Falcon Car Wash. If you want to have a good time and you don't play for the Eagles, this is the place to be feathering it, brother. I don't understand a lot of that stuff.
What in the hell is that all about?
I don't know.
Well, it's not like people to use social media to be wise asses. I'm very, very.
Right.
And there's no doubt that
very,
every
very
Yelp
shocked at
review I've ever read is always dead on and accurate, and I use them. If I'm going to South Dakota, I'm going to use Yelp to find out the place to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that was Dallas. From everything we've been told, is more embarrassed than injured. But I don't even think he should be embarrassed. But that's the why. He's 25 years old, and idiots go on social media and they make fun of you. So
exactly,
that's the sad
Luckily,
part
that doesn't happen to you on our Twitch stream, John.
Never
happens.
And I still to this day I know how big the Twitch stream is to you and Robin and Harry. Still never looked at it. So
By the way,
I have no idea.
Now we have some news. We have some news that's bubbling up from underneath the rumor mill. That perhaps there's another big John McMullen announcement coming, and you're not releasing it on this program?
Krause tweeted that.
You know what? I would love to release it, but I have no idea what it is.
Oh, okay. It's one of those deals. I love those.
One of those deals.
So Joe Krause, the man in charge, tweeted out earlier that there's a big news about John McMullen today.
Yep.
And he's just like leaving it out there in the stratosphere and not telling us what it's all about.
Probably find out quicker than me. Let's put it that way.
Does it mean you're leaving this show, John? Are you becoming too big to even appear on this little show?
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Wow.
Just wondering. I'm
this
not
is-
surprised.
This is part of the McMullen secret life that I told you that nobody knows about.
This is the tweet.
Yeah.
More
even I don't know about it.
more McMullen news coming later in the week.
So it's only Tuesday, not
right,
today.
later in the week.
Later in the week, John. When do you expect that you'll find out about this news involving you that's going to happen later in the week? You got any?
I expect to find out about this news involving me probably 10 minutes after you guys find out the news involving me.
Wow. This must have been. How many Zoom sessions did you have to come to this decision?
Well, if you do find out about it before us, maybe on Thursday, you can break the news that you don't know about yet.
I will always break the news here first, but I got to have the news.
All right, do you have any news on Jamal Adams? Is there any more developments with that? I saw somebody caught him with a cell phone camera riding in his Mercedes SUV in suburban Dallas where he lives and said, hey, you going to be a cowboy? And he said something like, I'm trying, bro.
And then somebody made a meme of him.
Remember a number of years ago when Earl Thomas was still in Seattle?
Yes.
And somebody caught him on video saying, come get me or something to the Cowboys. He's also from Texas.
Right.
I mean, Jamal's from the area.
Sure.
Yeah, he'd love to play at home. Doesn't mean the Jets want to trade him. Certainly doesn't mean they're going to trade him to the Dallas Cowboys. So, I mean, the biggest hurdle he has is the fact the New York Jets don't have to trade him. There's no need to trade him. And they certainly don't want to trade him. But to his credit, he's doing everything possible. He's trying to pull a Stephon Diggs and try to get out of there for whatever reason. And he doesn't have much leverage. So all you can do is try to be a pain in the you-know-what and try to force the Jets' hand. I know he said goodbye to Marcus May, his teammates, but the Jets don't have to trade him, and I don't think they're going to trade him.
Exactly. And the last thing that he said is somebody made a meme of him in an Eagles jersey with his number, and he liked it. And then all the Eagles fans are like, oh, my God, he liked that tweet with him in an Eagles jersey. That means he's coming here, Harry. You got to do an emergency pod. We got to do an emergency pod later on, John.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. This has sort of exploded in the fact that y'all have that. Yeah, and they take it seriously like it's meaningful. Like if you get him on video saying he wants to play for the Cowboys or is liking or retweeting
it's going to happen.
Yeah, it has any meaning whatsoever. It doesn't. He doesn't have, as I mentioned, he doesn't have a ton of leverage. You know, just from the franchise tag alone, the Jets could control him for 4 more years right now. Yeah. I mean, they don't have to do anything.
Exactly.
So I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Ladies and gentlemen, John McMullen breaking it down. That's an extended applause today.
Speaking of franchise tags, though, Dak is signing the franchise tag.
We got a break, though, Harry. We got a break.
We have to break?
Oh, okay. I thought I was getting the wrap-up sign here. I didn't know what to do. I don't. I've got Ryan Rothstein's giving me like multiple signals here.
And
he just wants you to promote extending the play to podcast again. That's what he wants.
Is there going to be an emergency extending the play podcast?
We already did it, Jamal. Yeah, there's not much to that. So I don't think emergency is needed.
How about if they now put Dallas Goedert up instead of Zach Ertz in the trade? Will the Jets turn that down?
Well, again, you would, Joe Douglas would want to have to trade him. Relationship with Howie Roseman. But that's the biggest hurdle, number one. Then from the Eagles' perspective, let's say if you want to play it and say they want to trade him, then from their perspective, he wants to be the highest-paid player, highest-paid safety in the history of football. And some have speculated at about $20 million a year. The whole reason he wants to get traded from the Jets because he's in line for an extension, and he wants that extension. He wants that money. So the Eagles have a lot of salary cap issues, expected to be $40 million over next year as we stand today, and that's without COVID-19 potential implications, which could make things much, much worse. So to cut it short, it is very, very unlikely.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. John McMullen. Once again, he came back for an encore.
Right.
He was ready to walk off the stage.
And he came
made
back.
his way back to the curtain, and then Harry pulled him right back out again. John, good stuff, man. We'll talk to you later in the week, brother.
All right, thank you, guys.
Read him on Philly Voice.
Tony, when we come back from the break,
I see Jack in the back.
Jack in the back is here dropping off, but he has a really scary story experience that he just experienced. So he's going to come on and tell us all about it.
Did he drive over a protester?
It's worse.
Worse?
Can't get any
yeah.
worse than that.
Wow.
I tried to warn people on my Twitter feed this morning to stay away from this area. We're here surviving for you.